Welcome to Behind the Page, the Eli Marks podcast, with your hosts, John Gaspard and me, Jim Cunningham.
Jim, my friend Jim.
John, my friend John. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to, I can see you. I can hear you. The audience can only hear you. You're back in the kitchen. You're no longer downstairs because there's a new puppy in the house.
There is, and he is very chill, true blue, kind of resting at my feet. The other two dogs are off for their grooming.
Well, very exciting for everybody. And exciting for us to be in episode 519, season 5, episode 19. Boy, it is, I believe there's only 24 episodes. I could look ahead and see. So we're getting down there, my friend.
I certainly can't.
Yeah. No, that'd be a lot of asking of you to know how many episodes we have.
Plus math, and it's not my area.
No, that was untoward of me to do that. Today, we are going to chat with a couple that I've had on my notes for a long time, the Cosmic Romantics, otherwise known as Elizabeth Messick and Eric Thurston. I think I'm saying those right. I've had them on my list for a couple of years, but happened to actually run into them when I was at Abercorn this past summer. And was delighted to meet them in person and brought them on, and you got to meet them as well.
Yeah, very first time they ever crossed my radar was when we interviewed them, and now I am maybe their biggest fan. It just happened that quickly. They're delightful, and they are terrific on stage, and you are introducing me now to a lot of things that I was absolutely clueless about. I guess I missed their episode of Penn and Teller's Fool Us, or I would have had some frame of reference, but they're terrific.
Well, that'll come up in the interview, as with many interviews on this podcast, maybe you might say too many. Our first questions involve going back to the beginning, and as he has in the past, the masked magician popped up once again. Let's look at how you each got started in magic. I've done a little bit of research, Elizabeth, and I know that you came into it at a young age, partially being due to your twin brothers and a desire to connect with people. Could you describe or elaborate on how the Masked Magician show, which is something we've covered here in the past, despite, in theory, revealing secrets, sparked your initial interest and helped you overcome shyness?
Oh my goodness, you are so good at researching. That's amazing. So I was a very, very shy child. It was hard for me to make friends, especially because we kept moving around. And so I went to different elementary schools and I was friends with my teachers and stuff. I was one of those lame kids, which now I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my mom was pregnant with my twin brothers. I was 8.5, and when my brothers were born, and I remember watching this show with my dad, The Masked Magician, and I was so intrigued by the puzzle of it all and trying to figure it out. And, at the time, I didn't have any access to magic or anything like that. That was the only access I had to it. And I was just so amazed by it. And then I ended up receiving a Lance Burton magic kit. And so I would watch his videos, but I didn't know who he was either. I just knew the Masked Magician and Lance Burton. But yeah, it was the puzzle of it all and the wonder. And I was like, wait a minute, this is something that I can connect with because other people like puzzles too, right? So yeah, I think that's what it is. So although now as a magician, I'm like, maybe he shouldn't have made that show, I'm really grateful that he did because I'm sure he probably introduced magic to other little kids as well, and maybe even adults.
All right. I'll take all that.
There's so many examples of like snakes eating their own tails with magicians revealing secrets. Like now there's a magician on Instagram who just goes by The Mask, and it's another. So this guy's the guy revealing secrets to tricks he didn't come up with, and he's stealing the idea of revealing secrets while wearing a mask, and he's just doing it on Instagram. He's not even being paid by a network to do it.
Oh, and a fun little fact. So, it's Val Valentino is the name of the guy. I've created a magician. It's a male magician named Vic Vicentino, and it's partially based off of him.
Yeah, that's Elizabeth in a mustache.
Yeah, and
I love it.
Dirty jokes that would normally make women feel uncomfortable, but they're coming from Elizabeth.
yeah, like my wand is bigger than yours kind of joke.
Yeah, yo.
Oh dear.
In my pocket kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, now I want to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah,
we'll,
we're working on it. And
Yeah.
we're going to be doing the convention in Milwaukee, the Houdini convention. Maybe
Oh,
he'll
yeah.
be there.
yeah,
Maybe
Ah.
he'll be there.
road trip, John. Road trip.
Well, the convention in Milwaukee is where all this started for me, because I went there to go to the Houdini Museum, because Jim and I were going to write a play about Houdini, which we ultimately didn't do. And the Magic Convention is happening that weekend. And I learned all about toppets and saw some very young children performing on stage, fighting over props in a very comical manner. Anyway, that was the start of it all.
Wait, is there a Houdini museum near the Houdini convention? Or no?
If it's in the same city that it was in Wisconsin,
Appleton.
went to, yeah, Appleton.
That's where you
Appleton.
grew up, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's in Milwaukee, but I do want to take a road trip to Appleton
Well,
for sure.
Take it out there. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
very
it's not a long drive, but worth it. It's kind of cool to be in that museum. They've got some cool things. At least they did 30 years ago when I visited, and they probably upped it some. There's a great big sculpture in the middle of their kind of town square dedicated to Houdini. So worth the trip if you're in that nape of the neck.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And I think you guys should still write that play, by the way.
Yeah, I'm curious what your take on it was.
Well, my take was that he wasn't a very nice person. I didn't want to spend any time with him. Houdini, that is, not Jim.
Wow.
Yeah, he wasn't much fun. His brother was far more interesting, I thought. Houdini was just sort of a... Anyway, we don't need to get into that.
Wait, I'm curious to learn about his brother, but I know this podcast is about us. But I am curious to learn about his brother.
His brother was very charming. Not that, and I kind of side with John that Houdini may not have been the kindest guy in the world, but I think he was a complex guy. So I think there was probably some good there too. But his brother, why are we even? I'll stop talking now. I think
let's get back on
another tangent about.
Let's talk about Eric and his father, because he was a magician. Your uncle, a gambler. That's kind of a unique family background in performance and trickery. Can you talk a little bit about the early exposure to that, even if it was forced on you? Kind of, did it shape your unconventional journey back into magic after years away?
Definitely. It kind of instilled some sort of understanding of entertainment even before I was too young to really get it. There's a video of me at, I think, not even 3 years old doing the cups and balls. It doesn't make any sense what I'm doing, but I'm going through different phases and I keep saying like, I'm going to do this one more time.
Do this one more time.
Just because I must have heard my dad, say that a million times, doing too many phases of like every trick.
And you have a great bow too.
Oh, and then I do like a little triple bow. But yeah, no, I was exposed to magic from an age where even before I could understand what it was exactly. And all of our family vacations when I was growing up were just to magic conventions around the country.
Oh.
And so when I became old enough to appreciate it, it was pretty cool. I enjoyed it a lot. And
How about your bar mitzvah theme?
yeah, I'll give you one guess. Magic. Actually, I had a stand-up comic too and there was no dancing.
But there's a deck of cards from Eric's bar mitzvah in the cedar closet. So yeah.
See?
His mom is really good at figuring out magic tricks because she was kind of forced to be the assistant.
Yeah, she got in the box for the sword cabinet.
Yeah.
But yeah, being around that from a young age made me sort of eventually kind of rebel against it. And I make a joke that as a teenager, I rebelled by learning to juggle. It's kind of true, but I just wanted to get away from the magic in some way. And there were so many like hack magicians in the 90s. So for many years, I didn't talk about the fact that I did magic. I didn't even talk about the fact that I was a juggler. And then it all just kind of came back years later as I was struggling to make a living in Los Angeles trying to be a screenwriter. And then a buddy of mine got me back into magic. And ever since then, I'm like, wow, it's actually not that hard to make money doing this. And it's kind of fun to reapproach it as a more mature adult with some perspective.
Can
Not that
you
much.
imagine the shame of the parents who are magicians to learn that their son wants to be a juggler of all things?
My dad was unfortunately supportive of that and every other like poor decision of mine. I think he was, to me, I thought of it as rebelling, and I think in his mind he was like, cool. It's like
And
it's that's one of the associated arts. Yeah, I used to juggle at the our IBM Christmas parties, and Jay Marshall, yeah, I don't think he knew my name, but he called me the juggler.
And I never got to meet Eric's dad, unfortunately, but it is really nice to hear stories about his dad from magicians around Chicago. We moved here a few months ago, so it's cool because I never got to know him.
That's great.
You know, maybe I'm just an old man and impressed by the wrong things, but to hear you say you recently moved to Chicago and are living in a place that has a cedar closet in the basement seems so grown up. I'm very impressed.
Well, there is I guess there is an aspect of that I could say, but I don't want it to be on the podcast. No, I can say we moved back to Chicago and we're kind of like in a liminal space and deciding what our next move is. So we were living in my mom's empty house, and not
okay.
She has a house.
Well, I will take this part out. I just thought it was sort of adorable that you had a cedar
No,
closet.
that could stay. That's fine.
We own a condo in LA and we're Airbnb-ing it. So that is adult. I will say
That's as adult as it gets. If you're Airbnb-ing, that
We're
doesn't
making
get
the
any
big
more.
decision now of like, should we move out and just start renting a place in Chicago, or should we stay here long enough to save up
and
a
buy
down payment to buy something else? So, as a magician, like I don't know, we're going to hit our like years where we are in our prime and doing our best work and doing our biggest gigs. And I don't know how long that will last. And I don't know how the money will come after that. So to invest with the money that we make right now in the future, I've been around magic my whole life, and I've seen magicians struggle even after years of doing well.
His mom's an accountant for magicians.
Oh, then she knows the inside story.
Yes.
And she knows how to just kind of like have a job that will pay the bills her whole life. But,
she's teaching us to, at least teaching me to invest. I'm learning so much about money right now. And so we're just kind of saving up right now. And the dream is to buy a place maybe in Logan Square. So that way we can hop from LA to Chicago easy.
Yeah, and be bi-coastal, if you consider Lake Michigan to be a coast.
And then the dream is to have a house in Monrovia, which is 20 minutes away from Pasadena. And it's also closer to my mom in Orange County, and then also to have a place in Mexico City. So
wow, okay,
we're not going to be happy till we have 15 houses, and a jet plane to go.
Goals are important. I'm
really
reminded of chatting with the now defunct Morgan and West, but who were in their prime when I chatted with them. And one of the things that Robert said that they decided early on as a duo was we're going to save and invest money as we're going along, because if one of us drops dead or is injured and cannot work for 6 months, we will not have any income because we're a duo. And they were very wise about how they plan their financial future. So I'm, as an older gentleman looking at you as my children, I would say I'm very proud of what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
I think it's great that you're thinking, because I didn't think through all of that, and I still don't. I just sort of believe that it's going to come, and it's been pretty good so far, and it could stop at any point. But it's really cool to hear you thinking this is where we want to go, and here are the steps we're thinking about taking to get there. It's
I didn't think we were going to get into financial planning for magicians in this, but
it's important to talk
not
about.
A bad idea. It's something we've never talked about. I'll tell you that.
It's a very important topic.
Absolutely.
So let me get us slightly back on track. I saw you guys on Fool Us. I've been following you online. I got to meet you and see you at Abra Corndabra, and it's what's apparent immediately in watching you two perform is that you came to this with a background in other stuff as well. You're not just magicians. You clearly have a strong background, like you said, in juggling, clearly music. I'm guessing
Yeah.
dance or movement of some kind has been part of it. That you were very strong performers before you came together as a duo. So what do you think, looking on it now, is the advantage or the gift of having that diverse background when you come together as a performing duo?
Do you want to go first, or do you want...
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of magicians, it's safe to say, spend a lot of time alone practicing a sleight, and then they bring it out into the wild, and they're confused why no one liked it, what they did. But
Yeah.
or they did like it and found it fascinating, but perhaps they weren't necessarily as entertaining as they were hoping to be, because so much of it is just about, number one, being comfortable in front of people so that you don't like have this nervous energy that makes them uncomfortable. And number two, just being funny or entertaining. I mean, that's ultimately, I think, what people want to see. And then in my mind, uh, the magic should be fooling too and strong, but that's kind of like the bonus. Just watching someone be fun on stage is really the prize. That's why even when I was a kid, my favorite magicians were the funny ones, even though they were incredibly skilled too, like David Williamson, Pop Hayden. These guys were like my favorite when I was a kid. Tom Mullica.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
great.
for me, so my mom comes from Honduras. So I grew up being raised by immigrants, and my mom made it a point to go to Honduras over the summer times and go to different orphanages and see how other kids lived. Because we lived in like a mobile home and an apartment, and my parents met in El Pollo Loco. So I saw struggle, and even though I was shy, I had a lot of empathy growing up, and I'm also a singer, and with singing, there's a lot of emotion to it and a lot of connection with people, because music is very universal. And for me, it's all about the connection with people and that sense of wonder. It's not necessarily the sleights. And I also have really bad ADHD. And if I'm not hyper focused on a sleight, I won't do it. So I have to be I have to be really interested in learning to do something. So for me, it is more about that connection with the audience. And I'm very grateful that I have a music background. And I remember when people would know the lyrics to my songs, it was just this beautiful moment of us coming together and feeling the same way and not feeling so lonely. And I'm just so happy that I had that, because I quit magic when I was 13 because I got made fun of for it. And so I, like Eric, never told anyone because I was too embarrassed. But now people are like, that's so cool. I'm like, it is cool.
It's
Just
become cool
Yeah.
over the years.
just don't tell the middle schoolers. Don't tell any middle schoolers that I do magic. But and also I grew up doing jiu-jitsu, and I think for movement that was really helpful in balance and stuff like that. Now I do yoga.
And to handle hecklers and stuff, you know.
Yeah, I'm really, really, really good at choking people out. And I can also break arms.
Wow. These are valuable life skills.
They are.
Yes, I agree. I agree completely. Can we, this is fascinating. Can we talk just a little bit about how you became the cosmic romantic duo? Your partnership as the Cosmic Romantics. I'm just fascinated by the origin story there. There's a psychedelic experience. Am I right in that? And that got you to delve deeper into the.
Oh, yes, for me, yes.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that, because now we've never talked in this podcast about financial planning for magicians,
Yeah.
and I don't think we've talked about a psychedelic experience either. So we're groundbreaking, and you're both on one camera, so it's a completely new day for us here.
Should I give a lead into the edible trip that I think you're about to discuss?
There's the lead in.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So Eric and I were working together just as friends. I had a boyfriend at the time, and I was writing a show with my two writing partners, Simon and Trevor. Shout out to Simon and Trevor. I love you guys. But
The likelihood of them listening to this is very slim. We'll send them a link.
Well,
Thank
you
you.
might be
They're
surprised.
non-magicians.
Let me just add them in here. They've been waiting quietly. No, they're not there. I asked and they refused.
Trevor and Simon, they I could safely say they're stoners, and I'm a stoner too. I will say now, ever since this day. So, but before that, I was the cleanest person ever. I didn't even drink on my 21st birthday. I had it at a bar. I was pretending to drink, but I wasn't drinking anything. So, we were writing the first episode of this show, and I'm like, you know what, guys? I'm gonna get stoned with you, and we're gonna make a fun show. And so they had liquid weed, and I took it like a shot, not realizing it was to sip. So I took 60 milligrams.
Oh dear.
Boy.
60 milligrams. And for those of you who don't know milligrams, you should probably take about 1 or 2 if you are first starting out. And so I ended up melting into the couch and going into the stars and the cosmos, and there was this voice, and I looked down, and it was me in middle school sitting and in the middle school dance. There's Casey and JoJo's "Oh My Life" was playing in the background, and it's this moment where I really wanted my crush to dance with me, and he never wanted to, and I was so sad. And then the voice in the sky went, "The vastness of the universe is so much bigger than this moment." And then I had this realization that I was in love with Eric. And then eventually, when I got out of it, like 2 days later, I thought about it, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna ask Eric out. So I made like this marshmallow voodoo doll of him. I did some magic spells and
Typical, girl stuff.
I with my boyfriend.
Who hasn't had that happen to them once or twice?
100 times over.
Yeah.
It was a really interesting experience. But I break up with my boyfriend and I ask out Eric. And of course he says
No.
my heart is broken, and we have to work together. And
We were preparing to do a show together, and
no.
wanted to kind of keep things professional, and
It was right after the show. Right after the show, we were
before the show we had in March of that year, or May, or whatever.
the parking lot show.
No, the show in a theater at a venue.
That show.
That was like
show.
scheduled on the books. Yeah.
I see what you mean. Okay.
We had a couple hiccups along the way, but things were. I eventually came to my senses.
I was going to tell them the robe story.
Well, we have to hear the robe.
Now I want to hear it.
And we went to Ruby's. We went to a diner. He paid. I thought like, oh, he's feeling it too. And then we come back to my place to like drop off magic stuff, and he leaves. And I'm like, oh no, I wanted to come back. So I call him. I'm like, hey, can you help me move this table? And I'm in my robe. He comes in and he's freaked out, and because I was trying to seduce him.
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me, aren't you?
She was definitely trying to seduce me, but I just helped her move the table, and then I left again.
And then I asked him out the next day, and it was horrible. But now we're fine. But do you want to know the dark reason why we're called the Cosmic Romantics?
Well, now I do.
Yeah.
So
I might need a moment to process that story. You know what I mean?
Okay.
There might be follow-up questions.
Yeah,
just like you, I may need 2 days to come down from this.
There you go.
Thrilled by all of this.
That's what a conversation with us will do to you. It will.
Yeah, it's opening all kinds of doors. Now I do want to know the dark reason you're called the
think there are a
Cosmic
few
Romantic.
reasons. I wouldn't say this is necessarily the only one.
No, it's not the only one, but it really was like the cherry on top for it. Not the cherry on top, the like maybe spoiled cherry on top. So
Okay.
It's kind of
it's
dark.
pretty dark. It's pretty dark.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the truth. So, I was dating around, just trying to get over Eric. And of course, on all the dates, I would talk about Eric. Oh God, I was just so in love with him. I still am. But there was this one guy, he was a foot doctor. And so I, kind of started talking to him a little more. And I went on a cruise ship. John Armstrong.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I went on a cruise ship and I was babysitting his adorable little baby on the cruise ship and kind of learning the ropes about being a cruise ship magician. And I didn't say bye to Eric, so he missed me because he was so used to me being so like obsessed, and I didn't say bye. And I was planning on meeting up with a foot doctor the day I came back from the cruise, and I didn't hear from him. I was ghosted. And then I also had a food poisoning. So Eric nursed me back to health, and he picked me up from the cruise ship and he revealed his feelings, and everything was great. And I didn't care about the guy ghosting me. Then like a couple months later, I found out he actually died that same day, the day he revealed his feelings to me.
He literally ghosted you.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Now, the next natural question is, did I have anything to do with it? And the answer is no.
The answer
I
is
think that's
don't
the
know.
answer you should stick with.
For the purposes of this podcast and beyond, that should
Yes.
be your answer, definitively.
And
For consistency's sake, yeah.
Yes.
Just so the listening audience knows that they're sitting on their couch, and right next to Eric is Mr. Goldfarb, who you introduced as your attorney.
And he's remained quiet
but he has been whispering to you on occasion
and taking a lot of notes. Seriously. Wait, hold on a second. What's that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I have no further comment.
No comment.
Right.
All right. Well, I was going to call this episode "Ghosted by a Podiatrist," but now that I know the full story, I'm not going to do that.
Still do that.
No.
Well, it's an intriguing title.
Can I do a follow-up question? How has being together as a couple, or your eventual engagement, has that transformed how you work together, either on stage, off stage? How does that change in your life situation affect your performance?
I feel like, people thought we were a couple before we were a couple, and we've always had this amazing chemistry. And now there's just a label to it, For me, I don't feel like it's changed because we are so connected in so many cosmic ways. But I don't know. How do you feel?
I guess you're right. Yeah, the timing of it, we didn't have that many shows together before we kind of got together. So yeah, that's true. We're just continuing to build on whatever seed that we had at the beginning.
And when we first met, he was in a boy duo and I was in a girl duo, and our duos were both really like fun and silly. And so I've always felt like a strong connection to his duo. And we were producing shows too at the same time in LA. So everything always just seemed very natural.
I think there's also something to be said about the fact that we now like live together and we spend more time together, and therefore it's more possible to do something like our second side act, which we do. And we started with a routine that mostly just involved cards, but now it's moved on to like every object, and we're still, always developing it. But something like that, I don't think would be possible if we didn't.
If we didn't live together.
Yeah.
Because we were best friends before this, and so now there's a label on it, and now we have like skin to skin contact. I remember when we were just friends, and we would
Can you
like
clarify?
look skin to skin.
We are leaning against each other.
We're leaning against each other right now. In case anyone's looking at interested,
I don't
in what's
want
going
their
on.
imagination to run wild.
Look, I can do that. And it's not weird.
We're not.
Well, can I just say that one of the beauties of Zoom is that the smack sound that you obviously made when you kissed him on the cheek, Zoom takes that out. Any sort of sound effect that's happening, it just takes it right out. So the one that you audience heard just now was one that I added in post, a cartoon hissing sound effect. You raise an interesting question because you are now spending a whole lot more time together just by the nature of the fact that you are together. It did allow you to do a second sight act, which does require a very close bond between the two performers. How has that changed the way you develop new routines? And are mushrooms still involved?
Oh, I mean, for me, I like my weed and my mushrooms. Eric, not so much.
Well, no, I like it. I just wouldn't necessarily say that. Look, when we're stoned, you have all these ideas and you have these illusions of grandeur, and every idea seems great. And then you look at it the next day and you're like, all right, well, definitely at least 90% of those are off the table immediately. And we can think about, no, sometimes it does definitely put you in a creative state. I mean, if the goal is brainstorming it's great for doing that. And then, with a sober mind, you decide what's going to work and what's not.
Like last night, I was alone for a few hours, alone in the house. So I got stoned and I had my Post-it notes and my stream of consciousness was just, woo. And when I'm alone, I'll just let.
Okay, are these the Post-it notes from last night? I'm wondering if I should grab one at random and just see what it says.
No, those are just dates. I was practicing something. I like to learn like Morse code and just like random codes. And especially
like a person does. Yes.
Yeah.
In their spare time. I learned
everything
Morse
we've
code.
said on this podcast has been just very normal things.
You know what it's reminding me of, Jim? We had one of our I Love That segments a few episodes back. We do a segment where each of us brings something to the episode that we love that other people may enjoy. And I pulled from the history books a favorite movie of mine called What's Up, Doc? And you two as a pair are kind of reminding me of the straight-laced, very serious, wise Ryan O'Neal and the completely free and loose Barbara Streisand characters, where you have that balance of here's someone who
it's called What's Up, Doc?
Yeah, it's called What's Up, Doc? And
if you haven't seen it, it's worth
definitely
looking.
watch it, because one is very, very grounded and the other one is a free spirit.
Yeah.
Moving.
How we said that together.
He's my anchor and I'm his rocket.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm surprised I've noticed. I think I watched Paper Moon with Ryan O'Neal over COVID, and that was just a very, very lovely.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, it's so adorable.
I should put that
on. It's a delightful movie.
And Tatum O'Neal in that deserved her Academy Award, because she does. Yeah. She is not. Her performance is not made in the editing room. It is long, continuous takes that she and her father are doing, and she's holding her own throughout, and it's beautifully shot.
Yeah,
and all that.
And the fact that it was actually the father-daughter must have made that so much genuine.
I gotta watch this too.
We're so really going on tangents today, so
I like that. I enjoy this.
ADHD. I'm sorry. I feel like
it's all good. It's good.
Well, let's get back to creating things. I don't know where I read, Eric, that you're working on something about the 13 archetypes of magic, and looking at it from, that's a very reasoned, logical way to look at how magic is created. And I'm wondering, how is that helping you guys develop things with that framework in mind?
Well, I think that, I'm writing this book called The Magician with 1,000 Faces. I'm trying to think about what the overarching categories or archetypes of magicians are. But it's been helpful to see where other people I look up to kind of fit in and are slotted in. It's also been difficult for me to decide which of those archetypes I fall under, because it is fun playing with more than one in a show. Although, to be honest, most actually successful and famous magicians just are one, because that's very easy for people to understand. But because there are two of us, I think that we are not slotting ourselves into one. And if that hurts us in the end commercially, then that's, our cross to bear. But it's been fun to just sort of hop from one to another and present an audience with this sort of platter of different styles. Because we love vaudeville. And so what we're going for, I think, which is different than other magicians, is we're going for a true variety show feel.
Yep. And you're achieving it. You're totally achieving it.
Thank you.
When you say variety show feel, within your own act, so that there's different, is that what you're saying?
With the two of us together, with the music, the juggling. Recently, we added a piece to our show that is inspired by Gracie Allen, and I don't remember her partner's name, but just like a short conversation that has nothing to do with magic.
Are you
I'm
talking
so
about
happy
George
that the
Burns?
name Gracie Allen is
that's it.
remembered, but not George Burns.
Woof.
I liked that I remembered her name and not his.
Yeah.
I don't even know who they are. We're inspired by these people.
Yeah.
By the way, so I found a lot of this is my stream of consciousness. So
Okay.
they're just like a bunch of post-it notes. Okay, I'm reading one. It just says throat motion and muscle control for your voice. So I'm learning how to warm up my voice without using my voice. So I guess that's what I did yesterday.
Warm up your voice without using your voice?
Yeah, I learned it from Christina Aguilera. So like basically singing the song without using your voice, because you can still use your muscles and warm up your muscles. It's I didn't know you could do that, but Christina Aguilera was just explaining it yesterday.
Not in person, via a masterclass.
Be a masterclass, yeah, just like and making sure you're using your muscles. So
I'm fascinated by that as a guy who depends on his voice on a regular basis. I'm going to look into that.
Yeah, no, Christina Aguilera's masterclass is absolutely amazing, because I think it's not only helpful for singers, it's helpful for podcasters as well, and how to just like conserve your voice, because she uses her voice all the time, and she's one of the most amazing singers in the world, and yet she can still hit those high notes pretty much every time. So yeah, and she does it, when she's in line at a grocery store or something like that, everywhere.
Jim, you have to take that master class.
Apparently I do.
Because it'll be tax deductible. This is speaking as a podcast producer who has a co-host who, when he's doing Renaissance fairs in the summer, we cannot record until Wednesdays, because end of day Sunday, his voice is not...
there's not much left.
Pretty ragged, so we have to wait until Wednesday to record. So if you could fix that, that'd be great.
I am fascinated by the concept, and of course it makes plenty of sense when I think it through. If you're, I'll get that master class.
It makes so much sense. So I was doing it yesterday. I'm like, why have I never learned this technique?
Yeah, I didn't even know it existed.
At these Renaissance fairs, you cannot use a mic, right? You can't use like technology.
We have now caved in straight across the board. I think at Renaissance festivals all across America, but we're augmented now, and
limitation to put on it and see what people do.
Yeah,
and I guess you can say that like people from Star Trek came in and like gave you these microphones, and you're like, what are these? And so you have a reason for
we can justify anything, but we just don't have to anymore. People are just like, yeah, I'd rather hear you than not hear you, I guess, and
totally.
It can be pretty loud at these fairs.
We were inspired by Mooney, who we saw at the
he's a genius.
With just the whistling that he makes with his mouth, and I don't know if he uses fingers, and just like humming his own theme song loudly, and then doing a lot of work that just involves no talking whatsoever.
Yeah.
He's able to craft this show and draw huge audiences.
And he's hysterically funny.
Crazy.
Yeah, he was at our festival for 2 or 3 seasons. And so I got to know Phil a little bit, and he's a genius, and offstage, one of the nicest performers that we've had the opportunity to sit down and chat with. He's great.
That's amazing.
Just going back to this variety show thing.
Yeah.
We recently took a workshop with this guy, Avner, and that's
yes.
Avner was what inspired the George Burns, Gracie Allen thing.
Avner the eccentric.
He knows a little about everything. Actually, he knows a lot about a lot of things. But doing that workshop with other people, we were the only magicians, but everyone knew a little bit of everything. And I think that guy and what he's creating out there at the Celebration Barn, that really tapped into our souls as like what we're going for, which is it's not just magic. It has to be everything that makes you feel a certain way, that makes an audience feel a certain way.
Yes, if you get a chance, listeners, I saw him do that masterclass at Magi Fest a couple years ago. But if you have any desire to put a foot on stage to do anything, he's the guy to listen to because he's got it all.
And a strong Minnesota Renaissance Festival connection. I can't state this unequivocally, but I'm pretty certain that he got his start here at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival, as did Penn and Teller.
And speaking of Penn and Teller,
wow.
who's
Yeah.
performed here for the first time together at our Renaissance Festival, you guys were on Fool Us. Now, we've talked to a ton of performers who've been on Fool Us, and we talked to Mike Close about the process. We've even talked to Teller about it a little bit. What was your experience?
It was exhilarating and terrifying, not only to perform something live for, 7 high-def television cameras that are moving all over the place, but you just walk out on stage and they're there. It's just like you see on TV. They're sitting there.
So the day before, a magician told me we weren't gonna fool them, and so I believed that, and I was crying all day, not because of what that person said, but because of the fact that my middle school dream is coming true. The little girl in me is on TV, and so I was just crying for her, and I was crying up until the moment we got onto that damn stage, and then when they introduced us, so
Just went into work mode.
yeah, and our family was there, and my mom, like, she was so proud, being an immigrant and seeing this. She didn't realize how big it was going to be, and so it was a sense of pride. And when we did fool them, I truly didn't think we were going to, and so I just started crying because I was already crying for the little girl in me, and so I was crying even more for her. And you can see, if you up close, there's like some makeup running down during our performance.
I didn't think we fooled them even when they said, "You fooled us."
Yeah.
You can see the expression on my face. Elizabeth is full of joy, and I'm like, nah, you must have made a mistake, guys.
Yeah, that's a moment no one can ever take away from us, ever. So if I'm ever feeling down, I think about that.
It was a great moment.
The intro video, they don't see that intro video before you come out, right?
Penn and Teller don't, and the live audience doesn't either.
Okay, because you had such a great setup at the end of that.
We wanted the Fool Us audience to be the first to know. If we fool Penn and Teller tonight, we're getting married.
And if we don't, we're breaking up.
What?
And I don't think Penn and Teller want that on their conscience. Do you, boys?
They don't show the live audience that?
No, unfortunately, something about the timing of it.
The post on it would be insane.
Oh yeah, because we we shoot those like the day before we go out, and so they can't edit it in that time. But I agree, it added a nice, for the viewers at home. It added a nice plot.
And I assumed that the audience there saw that video first, so they had a frame of reference. So it's interesting to me now, after all the people that we've talked to find that piece out, because that without the setup, I bought the premise, so I bought the bit, and that's interesting to me that they don't have the frame of reference that we do when we watch you.
Yeah, it's that's TV magic, though. But there's been a couple plot elements in our lives since then. On my birthday last year, I proposed to Elizabeth in the middle of a routine.
And this, I guess
now showing the ring.
Can't hear me, but yes, there's 4 diamonds in here, and our card is the 4 of diamonds. And he reached out to this antique jeweler, Cassidy Vintage, woohoo, that I used to work for, and they call it the ring fate because this was just sitting there. It's from 1915 France, and it had the 4 diamonds on there, and was like, yep, that's it. He pulled needles out of his mouth, and the ring was at the end, because we do this needle swallow together.
Speaking of Houdini.
Okay, I got to back up to one question. The 4 diamonds is our card, you said. only a magician couple would have a special card that is their card. Is there a reason why the four diamonds is your card? I mean, I can understand
There-
having a
there
song
is,
or having a restaurant, but
but if we were to say it, it would reveal something related to a trick that we.
oh, I thought you were going to say I'd have to click the explicit box when I upload the
Hold on, I'm
podcast.
conferring with my lawyer. Okay, no, I cannot share that at this time.
See, that's fair. That's completely fair. You should have your secrets, and we're not here to expose.
I'm really surprised more magicians have not brought counsel with them to these things.
We're smart. These are smart kids.
They're very well. They're financially wise. In many ways.
Yeah.
It was very fun. You know, Elizabeth and I were going to get engaged and get married, but when we went on Fool Us the first time, it was kind of like a joke. We were so not expecting to fool them, but then when we did, it sort of like kicked off what has now become a meta and real storyline in our lives.
And I will say this: stay tuned.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like stay tuned.
Way. I was wondering how much we were going to say, but that's a good. Stay tuned is a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Very excited.
Boy, I'm so sorry that I still have more questions for you because that would have been a great exit.
Would have been. I thought the same thing. It's too bad we can't end with
say that
that.
at the end too.
Yeah, very nice.
Well, maybe if one of you remembers to say that,
Yeah, we'll loop it back to it. Let's look back just at that performance at Fool Us. It's terrific. From my perspective, as a guy watching it, I did not sense anything but you guys being completely together and rock solid. If there was any kind of fear or trepidation on your part, it certainly did not read. You looked like you were born to do what you were doing there.
What's crazy about that is I didn't feel it at all while we were performing, and so when I was little, I realized when I'm performing, I could talk to people. It's this adrenaline that just comes in and it takes over.
We also drilled that one quite a bit, so we definitely went into like muscle memory mode. There was only one point during it where I had the not great thought of like, oh wait, I'm doing this right now, you know, that kind of. But aside from that one moment, it was total fugue state. We were just going through it, you know, just the way we would do, whether we were in someone's living room or backyard doing a show. We just happened to be doing it on a huge stage in front of these famous people.
When he said, "You fooled us."
And you're telling me the truth.
I'm telling you the truth.
Okay, damn it, you fooled us.
Yeah, it definitely broke me out of that fugue state and then put me back into reality as a person. Man, yeah.
And you know what? Having watched enough of that show, I thought the way he asked his final question was unusual. So I think not only did you fool him, I think you really, really fooled him because he had, for him to specifically, usually it's so convoluted that only another magician is going to get his reference as to what you're doing. And so for him to come out with a flat out question,
it was
is
kind
it
of
this? Did you do it like this? Which was like, wow, that's weird. I've never seen that. So you must have really bamboozled them if he can't even figure out a way to ask you a question that's not,
very explicit. Well, we found out later too that thing he asked about, because the routine had a few phases to it, right? Mm-hmm. So the phase that got us the trophy was the first phase. And we found out later that what he described in his question to us is an effect that they had done or created years before, which we didn't realize. But what we did was more complex than what he said. And that particular beat of the performance, I mean, again, we had drilled a lot, but it went quite smoothly in the live show. And so that's what got him.
We actually thought that the second phase was going to fool them if we were going to fool them.
I didn't even consider that we would fool them. But yeah.
This was before that magician said the thing. I thought we were going to. And so, yeah.
When we have talked with other magicians who have gone through this experience, they will often reference Mike Close or in some cases Johnny Thompson before he passed, saying something like, you're not going to fool him like that. But if you pivoted a little bit to this, there's a chance that you could fool them. Was there any coaching involved on that level, or did either of those guys say, "Yeah, you're not going to fool them"?
Well,
Or,
Johnny wouldn't have said anything because Johnny's
No,
been
Yeah,
gone
yeah,
for several
Johnny's
years
gone,
now.
we
but
didn't do it.
yeah,
But no, Mike did not give any advice on making the magic stronger, like in that way that you're describing. The only kind of tip he gave was to make one of the props seem more natural, just for like the story of it. So that was more of a note, and it was a very great note, and we took it. That was more of a note, though, for I guess the viewer, the average layman, not for like magicians.
huh.
Are you talking about
Interesting.
turning the cards into a diary?
No, that was our own
Oh.
idea. I'm talking about the gimmick itself, making it fit into the story of what we were doing.
That's
The secondary gimmick, I'll say,
Okay.
as you will.
yeah. Okay.
We don't want to give anything away here.
Nope, that's not what we do. But
But it's
really, great work. So entertaining, so different than, and you guys are, you just don't see a lot. I don't see in Minnesota a lot of duos doing what you're doing. You're kind of on your own path, and it's really fun to see it because it just doesn't come up that often.
Oh, thank you. I
So,
really
with that
appreciate
in mind, what advice would you give to a duo who is struggling or looking to come together as a duo, or having trouble as a duo? What advice would you give to them to help them move forward the way you guys have?
couples therapy. Yeah. You laugh, but it's true. And learning each other's strengths, truly learning each other's strengths, and allowing the other person to do them, and then you do you, and trusting the process is, I think, my biggest piece of advice.
Eric?
I think that, well, I'm just thinking of general advice that I would give to almost anyone, which is don't come up with some big, huge idea for a show and then spend years working on it, and then you probably never do it, or if you do it, it just doesn't work at all. What you should do is just start with one thing. And that's what Elizabeth and I did when we first worked on a show together. We each did 2 solo pieces and we did one thing together.
Mm-hmm.
And then that one thing worked, and we were able to kind of figure out, oh, why did that work and what worked about that? So start small and grow. I don't know how other duos have done it, but that's my advice. And that's my also advice to just any individual magician. Start with one routine. That's your totally unique routine. See how that goes and just kind of build a show around it. Don't think of a show and then spend years working on it.
And remember that patience is a virtue. And I will say this, stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Boy, I really
Bet I'll
am
stay
curious.
tuned.
Yeah, I'm curious as to what is she saying? What is coming? Because we're not a news podcast, we won't be able to report that. Probably go over to probably the closest thing we have would be Eric Cade over at Penguin, because he is weekly and he is usually kind of on top of things. So if something comes up, it might pop up over there. Otherwise, just follow them on Instagram or Facebook, and you'll see what's going on.
And you won't be sorry about it either, because they're terrific.
They were so much fun to talk to. I mentioned they reminded me of Barbara Streisand and Brian O'Neill in What's Up, Doc, which then they really did. You have this whirlwind female and this down-to-earth male coming together to create a plethora of styles happening on stage, and they all seem to work.
Yeah, they have stitched together many different elements into their act, and it is, I think, a delight.
Yeah.
And Penn and Teller agree with me. And I've never seen Penn in that show be as just sort of, okay, is it this?
Yeah.
Usually it's couched.
Yeah.
And it's, magicians will understand it, but the audience will not. But he was just like, okay, is it this?
No, it's
not that. Okay, then you fool us. I just love the moment because it's usually so surreptitious and
Yeah.
clouded
Yeah.
so that the audience doesn't know what he's talking about, but he just kind of came out with it. Did you do it like this?
No, we didn't. All right. You fooled us.
They're terrific, and I predict we're going to see more of them on a regional and national level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You heard it here first with us and the Cosmic Romantics. There's a couple things that stood out. Have you tried her vocal warm-up technique since
I
we chatted?
have, and it seems to work. We were together the Monday after the opening weekend of our Renaissance Festival here, where I host a show and do a 2-hour show 5 times in 2 days. And sometimes that Monday after, my voice can be a little ragged, but
Yep.
I was using that technique on the way down to the festival grounds, and I had a full. Did I have a full voice Monday?
You had a full voice on that Monday. Yes.
Yeah.
That I was actually a little bit surprised
Me
that you were
too.
in such good voice after not only a weekend, but first weekend. First weekend is usually your hardest.
Yeah, absolutely. Until I get it back in my vocal cord patterns and body mechanics. But thanks to Elizabeth,
Yeah.
I had what I needed when I needed it.
Good tip for you performers out there.
Yeah.
That vocal warm-up technique is fantastic. Another thing that's stuck out for me was the idea of proposing by swallowing needles as a metaphor for marriage, and then safely pulling them out. A very clever and must have been a delightful thing to have seen that proposal. Have you done proposals on the grounds?
Yeah, all the time. We did one opening day,
Yeah.
opening show, first show of the run. We had a proposal that we helped the guy propose to his girlfriend, and then in the second show, there was a guy whose girlfriend proposed to him, and they've been married for several years, and he wanted to get his manhood back by presenting her with a proposal and a ring at our feast. So we, of course, facilitated that. Yeah, it happens all the time.
And
It's
it's
fun when it
always a
does.
surprise to one of the two people?
Yeah, in general, whoever doesn't know about it, I bring the guy generally on stage. Yeah, we're going to talk to somebody about their experience here and what do they think of the show. Have you seen it before? Yeah, I've seen it before. How many times do you keep coming back? Who are you with? And then I'll bring his girlfriend out and say,
Yeah.
okay, and we'll talk to her for a minute. Then I'll say, final thoughts, and hand him the mic, and he'll kneel down and propose, and it usually works. And coming up in the Phantoms Feast, the Halloween show that I do, I've already received my first email about, could you help me propose to my girlfriend when I come to your Phantom?
Very nice.
So, yeah,
Very, very memorable.
Yeah.
As was our chat with the Cosmic Romantics. I got links in the show notes how you folks can track them, and I definitely recommend you do, particularly with her saying stay tuned. I'm really curious as to what that's going to be.
I am too, and my final thought on it is I love the name Cosmic Romantics.
Yep.
I just love it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's very good and very smart. And you raise an interesting point. Is there anything else that you love?
Oh, well, king of the segues.
Thank you.
It is time for that. I love that segment. And it's episode 519, so it's me that goes
You are
first.
first. Yes.
What you're saying, yes. I have a television show that I watched in its original run, and I decided to revisit it because I actually watched it while I was doing a Renaissance Festival in Arizona. I sort of binged it before binging was a thing. I ended up buying it on DVD and watched it down there in Arizona after I was done with my day of feasting. I would come back to my trailer and I would watch television, and this was one of the shows I watched, and I enjoyed it immensely at the time, and just got a sort of like a tickle. I don't know what brought it to mind, but I had this little tickle, and I thought, I should rewatch that show. I've only watched it once, and I liked it quite a bit, and I am liking it even better the second time. It's a Josh Whedon show called Firefly, and it is the elevator pitch would be, it's a science fiction Western.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sort of feel that it has. It's post-apocalyptic. The Earth has been destroyed. They've terraformed a bunch of other planets. They decided to bond together and make an alliance, and there were people that didn't want that. And it starts kind of with the war between the alliance and the people who didn't want an alliance. And then you follow essentially this group of salvage space pirates on their, hour-long story, which is great. I mean, all of them are so entertaining. The music is good. The acting is good. Nathan Fillion is terrific, but the supporting cast is great too. And it's one of those shows that I thought at the time, boy, this could run forever but of course, when you put together a really talented group like that, it's hard to keep them together because, other projects come up, and Josh Whedon certainly heard the call to move to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's a pretty big step from FX to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
But they did make a movie, didn't they? They did one movie?
They did, yeah. To sort of wrap it up, they made a movie because they did 2 seasons and there were some loose ends hanging, and so they made a movie that sort of wrapped it up.
Yeah.
And even in wrapping it up, they left enough open that if they wanted to revisit the series at some point, they could. Doubtful, but I would beat a path to it if they did. And you should beat a path to it if you have not watched Firefly.
I remember we watched a few episodes and somehow it drifted off of our viewing list. Maybe we'll revisit that. I know that anytime anybody talks about The Western is dead, people say, no, it's not. It's just Firefly. That's how the Western works now, is in that sort of thing. And I'm a huge fan of Nathan Fillion. There's another
terrific.
Nathan Fillion thing that I might put on. I should make a note of that, and I love that at some point.
He's really great.
Yeah.
I've never seen him do anything bad. He always is charming and funny, and in many ways, he was just in the latest Superman movie, and is kind of this goofy. He's terrific. But the first exposure for me was through Firefly as the captain of Serenity, the little ship that they sail around in. So,
which is the name of the film, isn't it? Serenity.
Yeah, the film is called Serenity as well. Right. So you can see 2 very short seasons. I mean, they're not like broadcast TV where they do 26. It's not that. But you can see 2 very short seasons of very good TV. And if you like science fiction, it's going to work for you. If you like Westerns, it's going to work for you. If you just like good TV, it's going to work for you. Firefly. It's on the Disney streaming platform.
All right, cool. Well, I will put links to that in the show notes. And now my I Love That is also a TV show, and I believe it is rentable if you can't find it. I believe it's on BritBox, but I think it's rentable elsewhere, or certainly I think it's 3 or 4 seasons long. It's a British series called W1A. Have you ever heard of W1A?
No, not at all.
Well, if we were in Great Britain, you would immediately recognize that as a postal code, what we would call a zip code.
Oh.
And it is the postal code for the BBC, which is a huge complex in the middle of London. It's the old building, and they've got a brand new building attached to it called Broadcast House, I think. And the conceit of the show is a new executive has been hired at the BBC. And his name's Ian Fletcher, and he is played by Hugh Bonneville, who you'll recognize from Downton Abbey and a million other things. He's come in, I think he's in charge of values. The show is about the BBC. It is shot in the BBC, in the offices, in the hallways, in the conference rooms of the BBCs, and it's about how the BBC makes TV shows, but it is a satire about how the BBC makes TV shows. Well, I hope it's a satire. It's extremely elevated in the language and in the performances. Everything's just amped up a little bit.
Okay, 13 minutes, guys.
Yes.
Platform's totally burning here.
Okay, so let's say we've got 10 minutes to do this, shall we?
10.
In round figures, yes, just to give Siobhan 3 minutes off.
Right.
Okay, sure.
Brilliant.
Meanwhile, back upstairs, there are increasingly few surviving minutes left until Ian opens his mouth to make a key policy statement live on News at 1 and finally gets to discover what's going to come out of it.
I mean, Siobhan.
Sure.
Right. Really?
I mean, I'm guessing in your world, this kind of thing is all pretty...
No, sure, okay.
This sort of stuff happens all the time.
Yeah, no, sure, okay. So here's the thing with this, okay? Here's what it is.
Right.
What it is, okay? So here's the thing with this, okay?
Siobhan.
This is what it is with this. Here's what the thing is.
I'm sorry, Siobhan, but I am going to interrupt you here.
Sure.
Yes, please.
Can I ask a question, guys?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes, no, of course, Tracy, of course.
I'm not being negative or anything, but I feel I need to say this. We've got 8 minutes left here. What are we actually going to do if we actually run out of time?
Right.
Sure.
Brilliant.
Well, we're not going to run out of time, are we?
Okay, fine.
Hurrah.
But I'm just saying, what do we do if we do?
Sure.
Well...
So, guys, what you do here is we totally focus on Plan B.
I'm sorry?
Right.
Plan B?
You don't prioritise Plan B. Now you're super dead here.
We haven't got a Plan A, you stupid.
Okay.
No, sure, exactly. That's why you need a Plan B.
What?
Duh.
We've got, well, almost nearly 8 minutes left.
Right. 7.
7, yeah.
Yes, nearly 8. We're not talking about writing a speech. We've got plenty of time.
Brilliant.
All I need is a basic, or I mean even a vague sense of where I'm supposed to be.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, right.
You all set in?
Well...
Cool. Because we should probably head down.
Right, yes. Okay.
In the end, after all the talk about exactly how much time they've got left, it turns out the answer is that they haven't even got enough left to address the question of what they're going to do if they run out of it.
And it has a really great cast besides Hugh Bonneville. It's also got David Tennant is the narrator. It's got Jessica Hines, who you remember from Spaced, which was a TV series she did with Simon Pegg, directed by Edgar Wright. It's 3 or 4 seasons, and every season is about all the problems they're having producing different TV shows at the BBC. And what makes it so much fun is they are right in there, and they're naming names, and different TV personalities come in and appear as themselves. I think even Hugh Grant swings by at one point. So if you are familiar with British TV, it's even funnier, but we weren't that familiar with the kind of presenters they have there. Even with that, it's just the writer of it has completely captured bureaucratic speak, where people are able to have conversations and not take responsibility for what needs to happen and move responsibility easily across the room to somebody else. And I know, Jim, you have not had a lot of experience in the depths of the corporate world.
No, I stayed out.
You were lucky because I know it's in this writer's mind specific to the BBC, but it really is specific to any sort of large corporation where you can essentially hide and not have to do anything if you know how to not do anything and make other people do things. And I'm probably not explaining it well.
What's it called again?
It's called W1A, and I had a lot of trouble remembering that name because I don't know that postal code, but it's W1A, and it's, if you're into British TV, just about everybody you've ever heard of pops up at one time or another. There's even a nice little magic reference in that all the different meeting rooms are named after different television personalities with huge wall-filling murals of their face. And they often meet in what's called Tommy Cooper. And as we know, Tommy Cooper was a magician comedian who famously died live on TV during his show. And to have scenes taking place with this huge Tommy Cooper face is a nice little side thing. But I highly recommend it. I believe that they are thinking about bringing it back because there's an Olympics coming up and it might tie into the Olympics with them.
Oh, nice.
But everybody in it is so good that they're all off doing other things. I don't know if they can get the cast back, but I highly, highly recommend it. It's called W1A with Jessica Hine and Hugh Bonneville. And I will have links in the show notes to how you can see it and also some clips from it.
All right.
No,
So I would, watch that in a minute. Okay, how about we get down to business, eh? Last time I read chapter 18, so before I launch into chapter 19, recap chapter 18 for us, will you?
Sure. Chapter 18, just the short version is it's where Eli and Harry put all the pieces together and they realize that Baxter is in danger and that Miss Hess is most likely the killer, and they race up to the roof to try to save Baxter. And that's where we left them before we go right into chapter 19.
Chapter 19. I took the steps to the second floor 2 at a time. I had left Harry at the base of the stairs with instructions to call the police. This sudden and unexpected cardio workout, combined with the 1, or was it 2, glasses of wine I'd had, was making it hard to pull all the pieces together in my mind as I scrambled up the stairs. The out-of-the-blue mention of a missing marigold, the same flower adorning Banks's tombstone, was one thing. Interesting, but not really earth-shattering. But when you coupled it with the revelation that Archie's girlfriend had been Austrian, not Australian, it felt like things were centering on the creepy housekeeper. I hit the second-floor landing, and using the banister as a pivot point, rounded the corner on the stairs heading up to the third. The notion that the comically fragile Miss Hess was behind all the murders was on the face of it absurd. However, her connection to this house, Lawrence Baxter, and by extension the magic circle certainly provided the access one would need. But for some reason, the words means, motive, and opportunity kept running through my mind as I neared the top of the stairs to the third floor. She certainly could possess the last 2, but if I understood how the iconic phrase defined means, I was thinking Miss Hess would likely come up short in that department. She had trouble lifting a teapot, so holding Angus Bishop's head under the water for any length of time seemed too far outside her wheelhouse. As I raced down the third-floor hall toward the spiral staircase which led to the roof, I said the word wheelhouse out loud, suddenly doubting it was the right word, or for that matter, even a real word. Such was the current functioning of my brain cells. Before I could consider this further, I arrived at the black cast-iron spiral staircase. The circular nature of this last climb made running impossible, and my feet almost slipped out from under me twice as I struggled up the steps, heading toward the doorway to the rooftop. My speed was significantly diminished, and so was my idea of bursting through the door in a dramatic fashion. However, when I reached the door, it stood ajar, and I opted to keep moving rather than stop and catch my breath. I figured time was of the essence. Stepping out onto the roof, I was immediately hit with a rush of cool air, which, given my unplanned workout, felt great. The sky was still clear, and the moon provided more than enough illumination. I looked first to the greenhouse on my left, which was dark and still, and then I glanced to the right and gasped. As involuntary as it was also audible enough to give away my presence on the roof.
Eli, stay back! She has a gun!
Lawrence Baxter's voice was full of tension. He stood near the edge of the roof, his back to the 4-story drop behind him. Miss Hess stood about 10 feet from him and about equidistant from me. As he had warned, she had a small gun of some kind in her hand. It was pointed at Baxter. She glanced over at me, a scowl of annoyance on her face. She turned back to Baxter. "Again, I give you the option," she said in her flat German. Strike that Austrian accent. "You may jump and take your chances on the fall, or I shoot and remove all doubt." It immediately became clear what she was doing. Archie Banks's suicide note had included the phrase, "You pushed me over the edge," and this appeared to be her intention for Baxter. I took a step forward, and she quickly turned the gun in my direction. "No further," she snapped. "Sure thing," I said, reaching for an unnecessary note of affability. "Whatever you say." For some reason, I felt the need to hold up my hands, I suppose to indicate the truly minimal threat I posed. She turned back to Baxter. "You jump, or I shoot," she said, waving toward the edge of the roof with her free hand. "The thing is," I continued tentatively, recognizing the lady with the gun had just told me to zip it, "if you shoot him, then his death won't match the wording in Archie's suicide note." She turned to me, rolling her eyes at the level of annoyance I was providing. "The suicide note said you pushed me over the edge, right?" I continued. "It didn't say you shot me and I collapsed on the roof, at which point you had to roll my dead body over the edge." "I am no slave to symmetry," she said, turning her attention back toward Baxter. "But," I continued, not at all sure what might come out of my mouth next. "You," she barked at me, "on the ground." She waved the gun at the grass in front of me in case for some reason I didn't understand what ground meant. I nodded in consent, still holding my hands high as I began to lower myself to the ground. My feet were standing on asphalt, but in front of me and spreading across the rest of the roof was a sea of green grass. At that moment I remembered what Baxter had told me about the pseudo-lawn that covered his mansion's roof. It wasn't grass at all, but some form of astroturf. He had said something about drainage issues precluding the use of real grass. As I got down on my knees, I glanced up and could see Miss Hess was watching me closely. I looked down again and was thrilled to see what I had hoped would be there. Seams. Like the sod it hoped to emulate, this fake turf had been laid out on the roof in long strips. I scanned the grass, looking from where I was about to kneel to where Miss Hess was standing. She was poised atop the same strip of grass that began right in front of me. I was suddenly reminded of a favorite phrase of my Uncle Harry's, one he used any time a trick did an outstanding job of fooling an audience. "I really pulled the rug out from under them," he would say with glee. As this thought flashed through my mind, I also remembered that at one point in the midst of a dangerous situation, Harry had pulled the actual rug out from under someone and in so doing had saved his own life. With that image fully formed in my mind, I followed Miss Hess's instructions and knelt down. I lowered my hands to the ground and, as unobtrusively as possible, gripped the edge of the fake grass, which easily peeled up from the asphalt. In this crouching position, I took a deep breath and then gave the fake strip of grass a strong and sudden yank. If my goal had been to distract her, I was utterly and completely successful. However, if my goal had been to pull the grass out from under her feet, I was less so. Sadly, this had been my aim. I yanked with all my might, and all I got for my effort was a handful of fake grass, which tore away from the main astroturf like wet newspaper. This sent me sprawling backwards, and I crashed into the door to the roof, slamming it shut with a loud thud. My actions and the resulting tumble were bizarre enough to make Miss Hess actually turn toward me, almost taking a step in my direction as I struggled to get up. This was just the distraction Lawrence Baxter had apparently been waiting for. His hands, which had been stuck deep in his suit coat's pockets, suddenly came out. One hand was empty. In the other, he held a deck of cards. I've been in my share of situations where a magician pulled out a deck of cards at an inopportune time, but this was one for the record books. Peeling the top card from the deck, Baxter flung it with consummate skill and force directly at Miss Hess's head. She turned just in time for the hurtling card to strike her squarely in the forehead. After it did that, the card fell to the ground. Unfortunately, the same could not be said of Miss Hess, the flying card having had no appreciable effect on its target. In fact, Miss Hess looked down at the fallen card with the same look I've seen countless people give when they're on the receiving end of a lame card trick. Baxter, undeterred, continued to flick card after card at her, as if she were a watermelon that refused to play along.
She just stood there, with cards bouncing off her like bullets off of Superman. To be honest, it was so annoying and ineffectual, even I couldn't understand why she didn't just shoot him and put an end to it. But Baxter's ploy accomplished at least one goal. It gave me the break I needed. I pushed off from my position on the ground and hurled myself at the old woman with all the force I could muster. I crashed into her at a full run, and the two of us slammed into the ground. Given her small size and general brittleness, I was convinced when she hit the grass, she would explode in a cloud of gray dust. Turns out, I was wrong. Forget any notions of her being a fragile, weak wisp of a woman. She was a fierce and brutal fighter, and was evidently determined to take me out at the beginning of round 1. What little strength I possessed, I put toward holding her gun arm at bay. But that was difficult, as she was using all her other limbs and her teeth in ways which would have given the Marquis of Queensberry an aneurysm. In short, Miss Hess did not fight fair. I'm not really sure what Lawrence Baxter was doing during all this. For all I knew, he continued to flick cards at us in the hopes of producing a really intense paper cut. My focus was entirely on keeping this crazy old lady from killing me, and it was not a foregone conclusion that I would be successful. She pounded a fist against the side of my head, while at the same time hammering me in the kidneys with a knee. I struggled to pull her pounding fist away from my head, and she took this opportunity to sink her teeth into my wrist. Just as I pulled my wrist out of her mouth, she headbutted me, smacking me hard in the nose. She must have done a good job of it, as I immediately saw drops of blood appearing on her face, apparently from my now bloody nose. She headbutted me again, smacking me hard in the forehead, and this one really connected. I started to see stars, and my field of vision began to narrow. The only thing that kept me from passing out was another helpful hard slam from her knee into my kidneys. In the midst of this struggle, I was reminded of my late Aunt Alice and some advice she had given me years before. At the time, I had been sent home from school with a note from the principal because I had been involved in a fight on the playground. She quizzed me on the circumstances and then proffered the following advice. "Eli," she had said, "you are a very smart boy, and you don't need to resort to using your fists. You have a gift for language and a strong imagination. Use those skills properly, and I guarantee you can forestall nearly any future antagonistic situations." I wasn't sure why my brain had chosen this moment to bring that memory to the surface, as I figured I was well beyond the discussion phase with Miss Hess. But I wasn't gaining any ground in the fight and had come into this battle already winded, so I figured I had little to lose. I looked into the face of this raging, angry old woman and decided I needed to hit her where she lived. "Archie Banks was a terrible magician," I said, my voice raspy but firm. "He was the worst, just the worst. The man couldn't do a double lift to save his life." Took a second for my words to register. "You are wrong," she spit back at me. "He was a genius magician." "On the contrary," I said, feeling very much like William F. Buckley going after a liberal opponent, "Archie Banks was undoubtedly a hack. He was a hack's hack. He sucked." Okay, maybe I wasn't working with Buckley's lexicon, but I was making an impact. "You lie! You lie! You lie!" she screamed. "He was such a failure, he even botched up his attempted suicide," I shot back, remembering Harry's description of Archie's unsuccessful effort to merely attempt suicide with its disastrous results. She froze, stopped thrashing around, and stared up at me, her mouth agape. I continued. "What an idiot he was. He planned to be discovered before he could finish the job, and he couldn't even get that right." She shook her head, her eyes filling with tears. Nein, 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 it was my fault. It was all my fault. I got busy, lost track of the time, and when I get home, it is too late. She repeated the words, too late, over and over, and I could tell the fight had gone out of her. I reached for the gun, and she let me take it from her limp hand. She continued to whimper and began to curl into a fetal position as I pulled myself to my feet. Baxter was standing next to me with several untossed cards still in his hand. Brutal stuff, he said quietly. Yes, she put up quite a fight. No, he said with a sad shake of his head. Those things you said about Archie Banks. Mocking a magician's double lift? Brutal, old man. Just brutal.
Mocking a magician's double lift, brutal. Oh man, just brutal. The throwing of the cards thing just made me laugh. The pulling of the AstroTurf and having it come off in his hands made me laugh because it's a nod back to the very first book in the series, The Ambitious Card, where Harry would often say, "Did you pull the rug out from under him? Did you pull the rug out from under him?" referring to tricks. And then in the scene where Harry is being menaced, he does exactly that. He reaches down and pulls a rug up and makes somebody fall down a flight of stairs. So worked for Harry, didn't quite work for Eli there. Have you ever gotten into throwing cards so they stick at things?
I have attempted to. I think I can throw a card pretty well. I have no control over the aim necessarily of a card, but I can throw a card a fair distance.
All right.
But I've never tried to like embed it in a watermelon like Ricky Jay did, or put it in a particular seat in the theater like Howard Thurston used to do in his act. But throwing cards is really fun.
I've never done it.
Have you done it?
Nope, never tried.
Well, next time we're together, I'll show you the basics, and you can, give it a shot on your own. But it's a hoot.
All right, thank you. And then I'll post some videos of me doing it so everybody can see how well I've done it.
There are good videos of Ricky Jay doing it.
Oh yeah,
he's and it's impressive when it's done. Anything done well is impressive.
Exactly.
That's why I don't do it publicly, because it's not done well, nor is it impressive.
It might be sort of sad. Look at that poor man.
Sad. Yeah.
Anyway, the last thing that stands out in that chapter was, I think, the suicide that they talk about. I think I based that on Ted Edelman, where it was, I think the story was that he turned on the gas in a suicide attempt, but it was a half-hearted suicide attempt because he knew his wife was coming home, but she was late. And they don't think he really meant to do it, but because she was late.
He did it.
Yeah. Oh boy. So that's, be on time, folks.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good life advice.
Yes. Good safety tip. Thank you, Egon. All right, that's it for episode 519. Next time, we're going to listen to chapter 20. What else could happen? They've got the killer. I don't know. There's 4 more chapters. So something's got to happen. And then we're going to revisit some thoughts from the one and only Jonathan Levitt.
Ooh, I like that. So we will see you next time, folks, with chapter 20 of The Linking Ring. And as John mentioned, a snippet from our chat with Jonathan Levitt. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
This has been Behind the Page, the Eli Marks podcast, with your hosts, John Gaspard and Jim Cunningham. Produced by Alberts Bridge Books at Grass Lake Studios. Find this podcast and all the books in the Eli Marks series at elimarksmysteries.com. That's ELIMARKS Mysteries.com. And thanks for listening.